uncertain for his family. Bill worries that there aren't enough jobs, living facilities, social programs designed to meet the needs of his son. So I'm wondering, as president, are there specific steps that you would take to help people like Kyle become more integrated into the workforce and into their local communities?
Look, the United States has made a commitment to treat everybody equally. And that means supporting people with disabilities, both in terms of education and later when they're part of the workforce. That means bringing the resources to bear to make sure that we're treating them fairly in school and after school, to try and integrate them fully and to make them have as full a life as possible.
So how do we feel about just this assumption that the way to help disabled people is to integrate them into the workforce and make them have jobs?
Well, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It is very uncomfortable. I mean, if you know anybody with disabilities of any kind, you know how fraught that whole idea is.
Yeah.
And families struggle with it. You struggle with how do you get the programs in place? How do you get the forms filled out? How do you get the people who have disabilities to participate in these things?
And that could be more alienating too if you're trying to force people into something that isn't really right for them.
I mean, there should be some imagination about what else there is.
Right.
And it's not just disabled people, right? I mean, like, we force everyone or a lot of people into things that aren't right for them.
27 jobs by the time I was 25.
Yeah. And then there's the flip side of, like, if you want to get disability money, there's a limit to how much you're allowed to be hired for productive work, which is another inefficiency that you don't need, because you don't let people just do what they can and want to do and offer.
Yeah.
Right. It's absurd to try to push disabled people into employment. It's also absurd to prevent them from doing the kind of work they want to do. Yeah.
On the live stream.
So Derek's on the live stream. He says, part of the way that cultural blind spots work is entanglement between two very different concepts. If labor is entangled with fundamental human worth, then it makes sense to say we should be putting disabled people to work.
That's a good point, yeah.
If we are separating the concepts more carefully, then the absurdity becomes apparent.
Right.
But the problem is that a large number of people are currently incapable of making that separation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's really well put.
So that's
Yang did have a good answer.
That's a good segue to the next clip.
The fact is, right now, we have to do more for Kyle. Special needs children are going to become special needs adults in many cases. And here's the challenge. We go to employers and say, hey, this special needs person can be a contributor in your workplace, which may be correct, but that's not the point. We have to stop confusing economic value and human value. We have to be able to say to our kids and Kyle that you have intrinsic value because you're an American and you're a human being. We're going to put a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month in everyone's hands, which is going to help families around the country adapt. And then we're going to take this burden off of the communities and off of the schools who do not have the resources to support kids like my son, and make it a federal priority, not a local one, so they're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. Thank you, Mr. Yang. We have to move on. Judy?
No. We haven't. Come on.
Very specific.